Hey, hi, hello everyone, and welcome to the tournament. Today we have for you canceled TV, which is a subject that is near and dear to my heart because it feels like every show that I develop some kind of relationship with gets canceled. And Bobby here is one of
I'm s-
the I guess blessed individuals that has had like a bare minimum of the shows she's ever been invested in canceled. Thoughts and feelings, Bobby.
Thoughts and feelings are it's not that I just don't because a lot of these shows on this list I do enjoy, but I am just not cognizant of keeping up with shows to the point where they can get
Mhm.
canceled. I pre-cancel them in my head and I abandon them, and then when they get canceled, I'm like, that doesn't hurt as bad.
Aw, aw.
Yeah, like it doesn't hurt as bad because I and my goldfish brain have already forgotten about it. What did they say on Ted Lasso? Be a goldfish. And I took that
That's
to
what
heart.
his advice was, you're right.
I took that to heart. And like the only time that I've like stayed with a show long enough
Mm.
for it to have like been canceled was The Good Place, and it didn't get canceled. They just decided to end it. So
What I wouldn't give. What I wouldn't give. You don't know, you don't understand the pain. Like, I'm working hard every day. I'm depressed. But yeah, I guess like that's like a good intro. We can just like get into it. There's like quite a few shows on this list that were canceled not really even under mysterious circumstances. It just seems like the network was just like, we don't feel like this show's going to be successful past what we've already put out there, so we're just going to cancel it. Others are just like, yeah, we're just going to end it because we're out of ideas. But without, we can just start with our first two.
our first two are
Mhm.
Veronica Mars and Scream
Return of
Queens.
Scream Queens, who has been on the show, I think, like 2 or 3 times, actually. It's a
It's been a couple
veteran
times.
tournament player. But
It
the
has.
first appearance of Veronica Mars, Bobby, could you, like, tell us a little bit about Veronica Mars? Because it's a show I have not seen, but have heard good things about.
Sure. Oh my gosh, I would love to. It's been a little bit since I've seen Veronica Mars, so I've pulled up the Google front page description because I want to make sure that I'm doing it justice. But basically, it's a like mystery drama show.
Okay.
But Veronica Mars used to be the popular girl with cool friends and the jock boyfriend. A series of personal and family traumas have made her an outcast, albeit one with a sarcastic side and a snarky sense of humor. Now she helps her private investigator father dig into the lives of the rich and famous in the messed up town of Neptune, California.
Ooh.
So it's like a detective show. She's like a teen detective. She's Nancy Drew. It's Nancy
Oh,
Drew for the
alright.
2000s, pretty much.
Nancy,
That's exactly
played by Kristen Bell.
pretty much played by if Eleanor Shellstrop solved mysteries.
Okay. Alright, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I guess I can go into about like a little bit about why both of these shows are on this list because obviously they were both canceled.
Hmm.
But Scream Queens, even though it's now become a kind of like a cult classic show. When it was initially on TV, it kind of struggled to find its like audience, and it performed like well in like delayed viewings. Like people would, what is it? What did they use? TiVo back in the day,
Like DVR, probably.
DVR, and like it was talked about pretty like positively on social media, but it wasn't enough for like executives to continue the series, especially since like it started to evolve into more of an anthology series. So each season felt like it was already the ending. So they just decided to, rather than try to um like take a chance on it and give it a third season, they're just like, season two's it. And with Veronica Mars, if our audience might not be familiar with this, it was on in like, was it the 90s or early 2000s?
It's early 2000s, like early to mid 2000, like around like 2000, 2004 was the first
Yeah.
was the premiere.
So it was on around then. It had 2 or 3 seasons, and then it went on like an indefinite hiatus slash cancelization. That's not a real word. And then in 2018, I believe, it was brought back for like a surprise season. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, Veronica Mars is back. That's so cool. But the reason why this revival seemed to have like seemed to have like ended kind of abruptly is because it was like a surprise announcement around the same time as like Comic-Con going out, and people were at
Mm-hmm.
Comic-Con or focusing on Comic-Con and what was happening there, and weren't really dedicating their time to like watching the Veronica Mars thing immediately as it dropped. So
Uh-huh.
people were like, "Oh," so the executives were like, "Okay, this didn't um perform as well immediately as we expected." And between the time of like delayed viewings, which would be like DVR, streaming, whatever, people had already been exposed to spoilers, and that declined viewership a little bit.
Mm, makes
So
sense.
executives were like, I think this was enough. It was a great run. Everyone had a good time. We're just going to stop here.
we're we're good. Didn't it like wasn't there a was that like revival season? Wasn't it funded by like a Kickstarter campaign?
I'm not sure exactly. It could have been. I just know it was definitely like highly backed by fans. Fans enjoyed the revival. Like it's
Yeah.
not like one of those things where another show on this list, which I'm not going to say just yet, had like a sort of revival and the fans hated it. It was really well liked by fans. So it was
Yeah.
kind of surprising that they didn't have another season of the revival.
I think it might because I remember it when it came back. I think it was I don't know if it was a show or if it was a movie, but I looked it up. There was a Kickstarter campaign
Mhm.
and the goal was to raise $2 million to fund the like to make the movie. And I think it went viral because people were like, "Oh my gosh, I love Veronica Mars." And I don't know if it like came to fruition or they like made a deal with, whoever, but yeah,
Mhm.
it seems like they came back around. But yeah, it seems like it's probably for the age that it was revived in, it wasn't the best fit anymore.
Right. And Bobby, this is all you because I am not like super invested in either of these shows.
Oh, it's Scream
What do you
Queens.
think?
It's Scream
Which one?
Scream Queens, of
Oh,
course.
okay. So
Like,
Dream Queens progresses to round two. And I guess this is where we say goodbye to Veronica Mars. Kristen Bell, I really appreciate that you were in this show.
farewell to the Kristen
Yeah.
Bell.
I guess you did really well on the lady across the street from the woman that was murdered on TV, something like that. That's really close to the title.
It's just as long. It's just as long. So that works. Next up, we have a
Mhm.
what feels like a very considerable blow to me. It does
Really?
feel personal. Um, we've got Rugrats and Batman the Animated Series, and this one's hard.
Like,
This one's difficult.
see, this is actually the first tournament that I didn't listen to the random list generator, and I tried to put shows that I felt like could compete with each other. I know it's controversial to think Rugrats could compete with Batman the Animated Series. I do think they are both the same level of good.
Yeah, you put two bad bitches against each
Yeah,
other.
to make it fair.
No, no. In the first round, we like push our favorites through, then they fight.
But Rugrats versus Veronica Mars didn't feel good. Didn't make
Okay,
sense.
it felt better than this. It felt better than
Fair
this.
enough. Fair enough.
Oh my gosh. It hurts. It hurts me, but
Mhm.
shall we say the reasons why they were I mean, I guess Rugrats was one that I pitched for the list. And I think it's because a lot of people don't know that it got canceled after like season 3 or 4. Like it got canceled kind of early on within the 90s and then they came back to do the like Hanukkah specials and the network saw they were like, "Oh, like people like Rugrats again." And so they brought it back and then like we did the movie and everything and then gave the show like a second run, but it technically got canceled.
Yeah. And it actually was canceled for a second time. I don't know if you know this, Bobby, but
Oh.
it was like a successful show after they canceled it the first time and it came back. But with the special All Grown Up, Nick and fans
Mm.
really wanted a spin-off like as soon as possible. So instead of hiring a brand new team to just work on All Grown Up, they just canceled Rugrats and started All Grown Up.
That's actually kind of sick though, because you
Yeah.
could tell like all grown up, like obviously it wasn't as great as Rugrats, but like it was pretty I enjoyed all
I
grown up.
really loved it. The theme song still goes hard.
Grown up, that's what I'm talking. Cree put her whole being into that song. She did what she had to do.
Cree Summers,
Cree, clap it up. Clap it up for Cree.
the voice actor of our generation.
Truly. Honestly, truly. But that's funny. I did not know that. That's crazy.
And with Batman the animated series, I think they perhaps have the funniest cancellation reason. Um, they got canceled, even though the show was very well received by audiences. It was like critically acclaimed. The show was ultimately canceled because the creators were just like straight up, we're out of ideas.
Like, that's all we got.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know what you want us to say. Which,
yeah,
honestly, I think that's like a good and honest reason. Like, I don't know if it was because it was like the 90s, and so ending a show on your own terms wasn't as popularized. Like, I think if Batman the Animated Series ran now and they came to that conclusion, they would be like, we want to end it on our terms. But I imagine the network was like, okay, if y'all are out of ideas, then let's just cancel it.
hmm.
But
But nowadays they would have been like, literally just come up with anything, throw something on the wall, whatever sticks is what you write about.
literally, we don't care. Like, you can make Batman Harley Quinn, and we will be like, sure,
Yeah.
who cares? Why not? But this one's so hard. I know it's not hard for you because you didn't watch Batman the Animated Series.
Series. I grew up in a household of Batman fans, and I was proudly a Supes fan. Um, so it's not hard for me, especially because I freaking loved Rugrats and All Grown Up. So that's where my heart lies. That's where my allegiances lie. Also, my allegiance lies to Cree Summers for everything. I'm not sure she actually voiced someone in Batman the Animated Series, although I would not
She
be surprised if
probably
the answer
did.
was yes.
No, she probably did. I mean, at this point, you just look it up on IMDb, and
Yeah.
Batman the Animated Series will probably be there. I Rugrats has made it very far on a
Mhm.
lot of our lists, so that's
Yeah.
why I wanna say I wanna give this one to Batman the Animated Series,
Okay.
just because its reason for cancellation was, like,
So funny. Both of these had
so
such
hilarious.
funny cancellation stories.
Clearly, it got canceled a second time, so they were like, "We're gonna go work on this show, but we don't wanna hire new people, so we're all gonna go work on the show together, and we're gonna have fun." So, I'm
Yeah.
gonna give this one to Batman. Yeah.
All right. So Batman the animated series moved on to our round 2, and this is where we say goodbye to Rugrats. But it's okay, Rugrats. You've been on the show a couple times and you were well loved every single time.
Very well loved, and I think has made it, if not, like,
Mhm.
has been number 1, has definitely made it into the top 4 a couple of
I think
times.
so. I don't exactly remember because it's been many, many moons since
Yeah,
the last time not Batman, Rugrats was on the show.
that's very,
Um,
very true, but it's done well. So,
with that, we'll
next
have our next 2 shows.
our next 2 shows are
Mhm.
Jane by Design and Girlfriends.
Yeah.
I've only
Girlfriends,
seen
which is a show that made this list, even though almost every list it's been qualified for, we've forgotten to add it to the list,
we have.
by broadcast, but we remembered this time. And Jane by Design was like a short-lived drama on ABC Family back when ABC Family was like pumping out dramas like every single TV
Turning out
cycle.
the hits.
Um, this one was actually really, really good and like by the standards of ABC Family dramas. It was so promising. It was like it gives you Emily in Paris vibes, except so much better. The premise is like a hybrid of True Jackson VP and Younger. If you have never seen Younger, it's about this like 40-year-old woman pretending to be 26 to get a job in publishing. I think
Oh,
Sutton Foster plays the main character.
and Hilary Duff is in it too.
Yes, and Hilary Duff is in it. I don't know if Sutton Foster is a convincing 26-year-old. I am not 26, so I don't know.
As someone who is, like, not too far from 26, I cannot say with certainty that Sutton is a convincing 26. I think she is a passable 28. That's what I'll give
That's
her.
that's valid. I think if she had said she was 30, I'd believe her.
Yeah, I'd be
I
like,
think
yeah.
I think she started the show. Was she supposed to be? Yeah, she was planning to be 26 at first, and I don't know if that was believable. But also, when I was watching the show, I think I was like maybe 19.
So you're like, what does a 26-year-old look like?
So I didn't know
But
what it even looked like. Um, and it was so good. But instead of like being mistaken for a like 26-year-old, well, yeah, technically, actually, Jade is like a teenager, but she's mistaken for an adult and hired at like this design house, and she
oh,
has to like juggle school and also keep her job by pretending to be an adult. And like the only person that's like completely aware of this, I think, is her best friend Billy, who is, I think, was considered attractive back then. I didn't
which
find their character hot or the actor hot, but I think he was supposed to be. And of course, there had to be some kind of love triangle. So he was in love with her. She didn't know. He ends up dating someone else. Then she's like, "Oh my god, I have feelings for you," and it's just a big mess. The show was really well liked when it was on, and then it just was canceled, and we were like, "Well, what was that all about?" And it is available for streaming on Hulu, Apple TV Plus, Prime Video, but only if you have the premium versions of all three of those, or either one of those.
damn, they can't even let you watch it on like because the one thing that's so annoying about Hulu is when
Mhm.
they're like, you need the Stars add-on or like HBO Max add-on or like you don't have this version of Hulu. I'm like, I'm paying, so I should be
Right?
able to see it.
So you have to get the premium versions of either Hulu, Apple TV Plus, or Prime Video in order to watch this one season show. That if you do look up the reviews for it on like Prime Video, it's like I think it's like a 4.7 out of 5 stars. So it was
Uh,
really good. I
I
think it
feel
ended on like a cliffhanger.
I remember seeing like because I would watch like ABC Family and I would see it, but I wasn't into like the whole I don't know. When you have True Jackson, I was like, that's just True Jackson, and so I just didn't watch it. But the premise sounds interesting,
It was
other
really
than
interesting. It
Love
was really
Triangle.
well liked as well. And by this time, if you don't know what Girlfriends is about, you've been living under a rock.
You really have.
But the the cancel is the can oh my gosh, the cancelization, I guess, of the Girlfriends was because of the oh 07 was oh 07 oh 08 or oh
I think it
08 to
was
oh 09.
I think it was '07, the writers' strike.
Yeah, it was
I
because of
think
that writer's strike.
yeah.
Um, and that killed a lot of shows. I think like a couple of them are on this list, but this is definitely one of them. It was originally a UPN show. I think it did survive the UPN CW merger, which is one big thing. Um, but the season 8 finale was like a big hubbub. And it was awful when it got canceled because you got no resolution for what went down at the end. And I believe it was like Tony was fighting for custody of her kid, and Joan wasn't there for her. And we were supposed to see like the fallout of all that. And then we just never did.
And that's all she wrote. We'll never know the ending.
We won't ever know, and it's upsetting. I think they tried to give some kind of conclusion in Blackish, actually, when they had like the girlfriends guest star on the show, and it was like, oh, Rainbow is like friends with this person and this person and this person, and so you got some kind of like some form of resolution, even if it wasn't those actual characters.
Okay, I can appreciate when shows like try to do that, like try to address like previous shows that their
Yeah,
stars have been on. Because there would be no way we would get any resolution for
right.
girlfriends.
So instead of like a backdoor pilot, it's like a backdoor season series finale.
I guess so. Oh my
Our
gosh.
viewers know what a backdoor pilot is?
I do know what a backdoor pilot is,
And it's
only because
our viewers, our
oh,
viewers.
we should I thought you said, "Do you?" I know, and I was like, "Yeah," because I watched The Nanny, and so I'll tell you the reason why I learned what it was,
Yeah.
I randomly, a couple months ago was like, "I'm gonna binge The Nanny from start to finish," and I highly enjoy it, and I highly recommend it. That show is really great. And I got to the episode where Fran, like, goes to, like, a hair salon, and then
That was
she
a backdoor
leaves.
pilot?
That was a backdoor
That felt
pilot,
like it. That felt
and
like it,
I
honestly.
I was like, "What the hell is this?" So I looked it up and they were like, "Yeah, it was a backdoor pilot for a show that never got picked up." Like, they
I
just
remember
left it.
that, like,
Mhm.
vividly. I
And I
was
was
like,
just like,
"This episode, it doesn't fit anything in the show." I don't think anyone is actually, like, a character in this show, and now it's just all guest stars in an episode by themselves?
I
Weird.
was like, "Why are they carrying this by themselves?" And then the problem is, like, no one character was actually good enough. So they were like, "Okay, I guess we'll just put them all together in one." Like, they tried to have it, like, be an ensemble
They
thing,
did.
but it didn't work. The episode, I think, is called The Chatterbox, and it was supposed to be a spin-off of The Nanny, and the girl, like Fran helps this girl who's, like, going to this casting call for one of Maxwell's, like, things or whatever,
Yeah.
and she's, like, a little bit nerdy and, like, very, like, disheveled and, like, and so Fran is like, "Oh, I'll take you to this salon that I go to, and, like, we'll do you up, and then you'll be fine for the casting call." So then Fran ends up leaving her, and then all these other people come out of the woodworks, and they're, like, these characters, including a kind of, like, very racist, like, Asian character who, like, does nails at the shop and speaks in this, like, egregious accent. Um and then the main guy in the shop is named Mr. Anthony, who's, like, supposed to be, like, this, like, himbo type, and they're supposed to put him and, like, the main girl together, but their chemistry is
No, it was
nowhere to
I
be
know
found.
exactly what you're talking about. I just remember the one, like, very famous line from that episode. It's like, "Why are all the good men taken or married or" and then they just look at the hairdresser guy, and he's just like, "I'm straight," or something
Yeah,
like
because he has, like, a kid, and I was watching this, I'm like,
like, that was an interesting choice. That's a choice."
I guess they were, like, trying to challenge, like, he can be a straight man working in a hair salon, but also I wanted to be like, "Look at him," like,
Okay.
alright. But yeah.
And I think Girlfriends actually also had a backdoor pilot for what, the game?
Yeah, yeah. And the game actually is like a show that's was pretty solid and actually got off the ground. I didn't even realize that. But from Girlfriends would have like well, I guess no one needed to
No one
because
needed to.
yeah, it's like no one needed to be.
Cousin or a sister that was played by one of the Maori twins. I couldn't tell you which one. Probably Tamara, or no, maybe Tia. Was
I
it
think it might
Tia?
have
Probably
been
Tia.
Tia. Yeah, it's on the game.
And yeah, that's what we gotta say about that. I guess it's deliberation time.
It is.
Girlfriend
And
or Jane by Design.
I haven't seen Jane by Design, so my vote is for Girlfriends.
I haven't seen Jane by Design in a very long time because it is locked behind several paywalls. So I'm going to go with Girlfriends, which is available to stream on Netflix.
It is, along with a lot of other great black sitcoms of the 2000s and 90s. I remember when they put them all, like, on there, like, during quarantine, everyone was like, "Oh my god."
I was living, honestly.
It was nice, but then everyone got to see, like, "Oh, yeah." It was
Oh, the AIDS episodes were just that were like, why? They were not good. Like, you
no,
could not have approached that subject matter with less sensitivity if you tried.
seriously. They didn't even give it a chance.
And they
They
did not.
really didn't.
Oh gosh, it was actually very painful to watch.
It's very, very bad.
But Girlfriends progresses to our next round. Jane by Design, this was your first appearance on the tournament. And I don't think you could ever really come back.
Nope.
It's a very niche show.
It's
And you were
incredibly niche.
trying to be a fashion show in an age where fashion was like really not it. A lot of peplum shirts, cardigans with like circle skirts, leopard
Preppy,
shirts.
Argyle prints.
It was not the vibe. But thank you for coming.
Thank you for being here. That was so nice of you. Next up we have
This
Infinity Train versus Bratz. Bratz the series.
this one hurts because I have a lot of thoughts on both of these shows. I think they are both very good for different reasons.
Yeah. I think animation being one of the bigger ones.
In defense of the Bratz show, I watched the first episode, which is available. Actually, I think the whole series is available for free on YouTube. We love accessible content.
That would not surprise me.
But the animation is not nearly as bad as you'd think. It's not that bad. It's not as good as like the new Bratz things that are on TikTok are, but it's not horrible.
Those aren't even that great either. I think it's Bratz as like the character design of the Bratz dolls.
Mhm.
They are constantly like smizing, like they're constantly like giving you
Yeah.
like a look. When you start adding movement,
It's
that's when it gets tricky.
listen,
It
listen.
gets a little tricky.
Sid the Science Kid is the
Oh my
bottom of the barrel of animation. This does not even come close to how bad it is.
That is true, only because I think Bratz suffered from, like, maybe not having the resources. I'm trying to find, like, a clip so that I can see what you're talking. Yeah, the whole series, which totals out at being an hour and 21 minutes.
That can't be true. That can't be true, Bobby.
I'm looking at the
Can't
video.
be
It
true.
says an hour and 21 minutes, 46 seconds. That's
That
what it
can't be
said.
true.
That's what it said. What am I'm
So you're
not
telling me
lying.
this is like what? Like 5 episodes long? That can't be true. I refuse to believe that.
You think they were going on for 30-minute okay, no, because I think they might have, like, grouped episodes together. So this particular episode is, like, getting straight
Yeah,
A's.
it says
I
it had
think they did a couple.
26 episodes.
Okay.
26 episodes for I think I don't know how many. It had 2 seasons,
Yeah,
uh,
it did.
40 episodes total, and running time of 21 minutes. So I don't know how they managed to group it for that like YouTube compilation. Oh, I think because they had webisodes as well.
Oh, that could be it. That
So I
might be
think
it
someone
too.
mislabeled it, but like there are an actual TV series which was from 2005 to 2008, 2 seasons, 40 episodes total. And I think they had like what 4 to 5 like Bratz specifically movies, and then they also had like the Bratz kids movies and baby Bratz movies.
Yeah, it's a big franchise.
It was.
I don't know if I'm looking at the right thing because this doesn't give me webisode vibes. This does give me TV series vibe. And the animation is god awful. It
It's not
is.
bad.
Here's the thing. I can acknowledge that there's some at least some stylization happening here.
Yeah,
Like there were some creative choices that were being made. And for 2005 with like probably a so-so budget, they did the best that they could.
I think so. I'm in defense of their animation because I'm looking at this and then I'm looking at Rick and Morty, and I think this is still better than the Rick and
No, it
Morty.
is, and I will absolutely agree with you. I am a fan of Jimmy Neutron, which is a show that people consistently say, "Oh, the animation on it is garbage." Which, bitch, the movie was nominated for a motherfucking Oscar. So, yeah,
That's
um,
what you have to say about that.
that's what I have to say about that. So when your fave gets nominated for an Oscar, then you call me. But I can. There's a lot of love that probably went into this show, and that's what I'm gonna say.
I think so too. Also, I realized I did have this specific Sasha doll. I think it was my first one.
Really? Let me see. Let me go back. Yeah, with the I think I might have had, like, a
Had
Brad because
that.
they did, like, a jungle collection at one point
They
or
did
something.
everything. They
Yeah, they
did
really have.
everything.
They've done everything. So, I think I might have had, like it was like a tent or something. I don't know why, because I didn't have Brad's dolls, but anyways. Um, but
And that's Bratz. But Infinity Train, I freaking love this show.
it's a phenomenal show.
Do you have? I think you actually made a video about it, Bobby. So I'll let you speak about like give it its praises.
Yeah. So Infinity Train is like an anthology series, which I think is when they do different formats with animation, I always really enjoy it. So every season focuses on a different character, but there's this train that has all these different sections, and each section is like a different environment. Um, that you have to go through. It's been a minute since I've seen the show, so I might
Yeah.
be like, blanking on some details. So definitely fill in, Momo. But it follows, what is her name? Lily?
Tulip.
Tulip.
Just
A flower.
different flower. You're on the right track. You're on the right
Different
track.
flower. Tulip, who's like going on this adventure on this train. It gave me the vibes of, what is it? Is it Snowpiercer? That show?
Yes, yes, it does give Snowpiercer vibes, especially because it's like a train that goes on forever, doesn't stop.
Exactly. But animation wise, it definitely kind of mirrors the like the animation style du jour that we have right now, which some people call Cal art style, but Cal art style changes with the wind. But it still is like a visually engaging show. It's Cartoon Network like doing what we know Cartoon Network can do, um, which is create like a phenomenal looking show. It's I highly, highly, highly recommend. I think you probably could watch it on HBO Max, I
You
would
can.
imagine. But it's really, really good. And the storytelling on it is like they have some like heavy, like emotional
Yeah.
moments too. So it's not like super duper light.
Like one of the important parts of Infinity Train is that it I think each person that ends up on the train is running away from something.
Hmm.
And they can't leave the train until they like overcome some kind of like personal difficulty they have, which might be like some kind of trauma or like a very big life decision that they have to work through. And they have like these numbers on their typically on their hands, and they have to do basically good tasks for their numbers to go down. When they hit zero, they get like spirited away off of the train and back into their regular lives.
Hmm.
Each, again, as Bobby said, each book, I think they call it, it
Yeah.
follows a different character. It's for the first two, it seemed to like follow, or sorry, the first three, three is it? Yeah, first three seem to follow at least one character that had been in the previous season.
Yeah.
Um, so the first book was following our original main character Tulip. Tulip ends up having like a twin that's from a mirror dimension that ends up being the main character of the second book. Then someone that appears in the second book becomes the main character of the third book, but the fourth book is completely separate. And it's because the show was canceled, so they had to just like kind of wrap it up.
Like, we're done here. I think because wasn't it in jeopardy of being canceled by book three, and then
Yeah.
fans were like going like crazy about it? Because I think I might have made my video around when book three ended, and they didn't know if we were going to get a book four.
So even though it was loved by a very specific fan base, but that fan base was quite a bit older than the target audience of Cartoon Network.
Mhm.
And I believe the creator said that he didn't believe, what's the creator's name? So I can actually give him his props. Um,
Miss Flowers.
Owen Dennis, the creator, actually had intended the show to be 8 seasons long, but Cartoon Network wasn't super gung ho about it because the subject matter would seem like a little bit too mature for children.
Mhm.
It was more liked by older kids, like teetering on adulthood, and that's not really the target audience of Cartoon Network. And
Mhm.
he didn't think that HBO Max would believe in the show enough to like justify giving it 8 seasons. So he decided to cut it at season 4 instead of like trying to push um, like executives to believe in the story.
Yeah. I think that's very like that's admirable to be like I have to think about the good of the story versus my
Yeah.
want of like wanting it to go on until book 8. And definitely I definitely see some Avatar influence here too, not just with like calling it like book or like chapter whatever. Um but just trusting a well, I guess it wasn't really fully a kid audience of mostly like late
Most
teens and
adults like this show. It's really, really good and incredibly compelling storytelling. Phenomenal, especially because each episode is 11 minutes long. The amount of stuff you learn about the characters and the Infinity Train in general in 11 minutes is absolutely astounding.
it's a feat for sure. And I think if I honestly think if they might have started on maybe like an Adult Swim or something, they might have gotten
Yes,
to book
yes.
8. I
I
really
agree.
do.
I fully agree. If they had just gone to Adult Swim, if it was on like like it could easily have been an adult animation, but like it's hard to pitch shows that aren't like cursing every other second, or showing blood and gore. Even though I feel like this was a fairly violent show.
Like, the monsters in it and, like, the thing like, the, like, villains that they have to fight are, like, not there's no
Legitimately
kid
scary.
gloves. Like, they're scary. They're legitimately terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been fine, like, putting it on Adult Swim, but I do think its issue was, like you said,
Mhm.
it's not, like, obnoxious, but it also isn't very funny either, and I
Yeah.
think adult animation only tends to thrive when it's like a comedy,
Yeah.
and it's not.
It's not a comedy. It's like it's honestly a drama.
It is.
And that's
I
really not the brand of Cartoon Network. So I get why they weren't gung ho on keeping it. I personally think it had a home on HBO Max. Not
It
only because where I
did.
watched it, but I think like because the streaming network. Hold on a second. Ooh, my dog's barking. Sorry. um, I do think it could have had like a home there.
It was a show that you definitely wanted to binge because, like you said, it's only 11 minutes,
Yeah.
and, like, it was, I always fuck this up. It's not episodic, it was a serial.
It
Uh,
was serialized, yeah.
so, like, you would wanna, like, watch it in
Yeah.
continuity. Um, Cartoon Network, reconsider. Call us
HBO
up.
Max, reconsider,
HBO Max, call us
please.
up. We'll get in touch with Owen. We'll work it
Yeah,
out. We'll be fine.
Mr. Dennis, please. Your thing was absolutely amazing. What I wouldn't give to work on that show. But also, what I think is so interesting is that they're like each car was completely different. So that
Yeah,
means like they were background animators that were putting their blood, sweat, and tears into something that was going to be they knew was going to be showed for maybe 20 seconds max.
and I mean, it's insane how good the animation
It's
is on this show.
really good. Runs circles around Bratz, and I will admit it. It is significantly better than Bratz the series. I just still wanted to put it there, even though when it was on the air, it did like get canceled because of low ratings.
It was you were watching it and you were
I was
enjoying
watching it. I was enjoying it. I'm a Bratz girly forever and ever. Girl with a passion for fashion.
it. Oh, you know what? One thing that I love about Momo is that when she loves something, she will be the only fan of it and will love it with the
Yeah.
fury of 10,000 people.
Yeah, it's passion.
It is passion, a passion for shitty animation. It's passion.
Not that bad. It's not that
Momo,
bad.
Momo,
Like, oh, sure, is the hair animated
the
to look like
hair.
candy straw? Maybe, but it had movement. It was not stiff.
Yeah, I could definitely give it that. It sure did have movement. It looked like string, but it had movement. And it was glossy as
It was
hell.
super glossy. They used so much conditioner.
It just seemed like you could see the effort of them animating every individual strand. That's the
You
best that I could give
some
it.
some cart like not cartoon character designer spent weeks animating one girl's hair, and we know it. But I think we know who wins the showdown between Infinity Train and Bratz the Series. I just wanted to put Bratz the Series here to give it its flowers of existing.
And you know what? I think all the animators who worked on that show do really thank you because I know no one has thought about this show since it came out but you.
If you are watching this show right now, I want you to add Bratz the Series to your watch list. It's available entirely on YouTube. There are so many connected movies to it. You'll love it. It's had quite a few viral sounds on TikTok.
That is very true. And I think if you're gonna watch anything
Yeah,
from the Bratz television and cinematic universe,
yeah.
let it be this and not the live action Bratz movie.
Absolutely.
That is
Absolutely. I enjoyed that mess.
objectively terrible.
Objectively horrible. I fear so much for the Barbie movie. Like, I don't know. I have no faith it can be good because of how genuinely bad the Bratz live action movie was.
And I
But
think the problem with the Barbie movie is that it's going to be like dramatic and maybe bad. Whereas with the Bratz movie, it was camp at some points. I don't think we're getting
it was
camp.
it had like out of the whole like hour and 30-minute movies, it was probably camp for 5 minutes, but it's still much more camp than the Barbie movie's gonna be.
It's probably everything that I've learned about this movie does not give me any indication that it will be anything fun. I'm not going to get Barbie girl vibes.
It's I am afraid. I have fears. And I would love to be invited to the premiere and be able to say that I was completely wrong
Exactly.
about like all of my fears were not justified. I want to be able to say that. So you do have to invite me to the premiere, whatever studio is putting this movie on.
Margot Robbie, I want you to hear us and hear as well. I know you're watching. Um, Black women don't get invited to premieres all that
Yeah,
much.
very rarely do we.
Very rarely do we show up.
Mhm.
And I just want you to know, if you invite us to
Yeah,
your premiere, we will show up
we
and
will be there
we will show out.
in our Sunday best.
Absolutely. Absolutely, we will. We will show up in the most violently pink outfits you've ever seen in your life.
Not to like outshine you.
No, 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 no. We're gonna look as good as we're gonna look, and you're gonna be fine. Like you're gonna be like, oh,
Yeah.
that's like an objectively good outfit. We're committing to the bit.
Yeah,
That's what we're doing.
that's what we're doing exactly. But I guess with that, we can put our next two shows on.
Next up, we have the buzz on Maggie versus Dave the Barbarian. Barbarian.
Okay, so this is where I get to talk about the Disney 65 episode rule.
Your time to shine, babe.
You may or may not be aware of this, people watching, but at one point, Disney kind of had this written/unwritten rule that shows were just going to be over, whether the story was finished or not, like after episode 65. Like that's straight up it.
Yeah.
These two shows were exempt from that rule only because they were canceled way before they could even reach that.
Oh no, I feel bad. Oh
Yeah.
my god, because they were bad shows. They were good shows.
I didn't super love Dave the Barbarian. I know that you did. I preferred the Weekenders to Dave the Barbarian. I think they were created by the same person as well.
Real, yeah. Oh yeah, we're putting the Weekenders up against Dave the Barbarian. Dave, you're not holding a candle to
Yeah.
Tino, Laura Carter, or Tish. Like no.
The buzz on Maggie was like only on TV for like 2 months before they were just like, this show's canceled.
And they only played it at like 12 o'clock at night.
Really did. They played it at such obscure times. It was ridiculous. And then Dave the Barbarian, I think, only had 20 episodes total because it was canceled super quickly.
And those episodes are not long at all. Like they're not 30-minute romps. Like they think they might be like 11-minute clips.
Actually, unfortunately, Bobby, it holds the record for the shortest running show on Disney Channel to date.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I remember the day that it premiered.
Yeah.
I don't it followed something else. I think it might have been like a
some
decom.
kind of decom.
Yeah, it had to be a decom that I was like excited to watch, and then they were like, and now here's a brand new show, Dave the Barbarian. And I just remember liking, I think I just like the theme song more than I like the actual show, now that I'm being honest with myself. I think that's what it was.
I think the issue with this show, this is just purely speculation, is that it was hard to know who this show was for.
No idea. No clue.
I don't know. Because I think all of the surrounding characters were all girls.
Yeah, like the
including
sword.
the sword.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Like, was it for girls?
It was the sword, his, like, I think a little bit younger sister, Candy, who was like the princess type, like obsessed with herself. Then his youngest sister, which was like, for whatever reason, like a cave girl.
Yeah, and she would always be like, "I'm not a monkey." Like, that would be her
Yeah,
one thing. Like, they treated her like a Neanderthal.
like she was a Neanderthal. And then there was Dave. And it's like, okay, was this show for like girls, but like it wasn't really appealing to like a girl audience. Oh, was it for boys because the main character's a guy? Um, but it was just a confusing show.
I'm so confused now that I've given this a little bit of thought.
Yeah.
Um, Also, Jeff Bennett is in it, and he plays Johnny Bravo and the hot guy from a extremely goofy movie, Bradley Uppercuts the
Oh,
Third.
a hot guy.
If you've seen an extremely goofy movie,
I have
Bradley.
seen an extremely goofy movie. I did not think Bradley was attractive. I didn't like that he was mean.
But some of us like that.
Was
So,
Summers in this one? Was she the sword?
no, I think if the sword's name is Fang, that was Tress McNeil.
Never mind then. Sorry.
Yeah, this is a pretty Caucasian cast. Rob Paulson was in it,
Hmm.
and Paul Rugg, Estelle Harris played
All red?
Luna. No, Rugg.
Oh, okay. I'm sure he gets that a lot.
Frank Welker. Like, it pretty much is. It's definitely seemed like one of those shows where they were just like, we're not getting any like name actors for this, so voice actors of Hollywood, come on down and get a beach house.
Fuck
Like,
them all.
come one, come all. But yeah, no, it was not good. Not good, and I think because you didn't know who it was for, it just ended up being for no one.
Right. Whereas the buzz on Maggie was like, even though Maggie was a girl, it didn't feel like it was a specifically this is for girls show. It went very gender neutral. I
Yeah.
think because of how high concept the show was, it did um, kind of garner a much wider audience.
Mhm.
But the show was still canceled. So did it really do its job of getting a large audience? Not really.
Not really.
Um, I personally know which show should continue.
It's the buzz on Maggie, because I can't in good faith give any reason as to why Dave the Barbarian should go forward. And now I'm only like hyper fixated on figuring out the name of the character that Dave reminds me of. Do you remember the son from one of the like villains on Kim Possible?
Oh my God,
You know what I'm talking.
senior, junior.
Yes,
Yeah,
his that's exactly who. Yes, senior, junior. That's exactly who Dave reminds me of.
that's right. Oh, and for anyone wondering, there's a short list of shows like animated shows that have um not necessarily animated. There's some live action ones here too that have surpassed the 65 episode rule. When Disney had that in practice. Zorro, which is a show I didn't even know existed, but apparently had 78 episodes. Dumbo Circus, another show I didn't know existed, had 120 episodes. DuckTales, the
Mm.
original one with 100. Adventures in Wonderland with 100 episode, never heard of it.
Okay.
Darkwing Duck, 91 episodes. Goof Troop with 78.
What the
Aladdin
fuck?
the animated series with 86, Gargoyles with 78, Timon and Pumbaa Deep Cut,
Deep
it's
cut.
85 episodes. The Bane of Bobby's Existence, Bear in the Big Blue House with 118 episodes. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show, with 66, really narrowly,
Barely.
narrowly
Barely.
surpassing it. Out of the Box with 82, and That's So Raven with 100. I believe The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody also does fall into this category as well.
Makes sense. A lot of those never heard of, and I think because some of them were Playhouse Disney,
Mhm.
a full episode might count as 11 minutes versus like for an older audience, they might
Yeah,
count 2 11-minute segments as one
okay,
episode. So that might contribute to the episode
maybe.
count. That's what I'm thinking. Because there's no way in hell Bear in the Big Blue House was doing
Mhm.
fucking 30 minutes, like for
Yeah.
112 times, whatever it
Um,
was.
there are like a couple other shows that also did like surpass the 65 episode rule, but there were quite a few that really didn't, as you can see. because Disney had a lot more shows than just what I listed.
Yeah, yeah. I'm surprised. I mean, the ones that like
Mhm.
got pretty up there that were of quality are good choices. Like
Yeah,
DuckTales, like getting however many it got, like solid. Goof Troop, I don't think I've watched
I have. It's pretty good.
because it's like the prequel to a Goofy
Mhm.
movie, which I did not know.
Yeah, a lot of people think that it's like traditionally, like you have a spin-off of a TV show that's like a movie, but in this case, it was the T. Wait, what did happen first? Um,
TV show happened first, then movie.
yeah. Oh, so yeah, I guess it's like
It's just the same.
technically how it normally is. But I
Yeah.
think a lot of people thought that the movies came first and then they made a TV show. But if you actually watch the TV show, you could see the animation wise that was clearly before.
It was because Max is like 11 or
Yeah,
12.
he's
Like
11.
they're like itty bitty. So and
Mhm.
then they're aged up a little bit for a Goofy movie, but not by much. I would say they're probably like sophomores in high
Yeah,
school.
he's only aged up a little bit.
And then they make that big old jump to an extremely goofy movie, and that's where I get Bradley Uppercuts the
Yeah,
third and Little Miss Mochaccino. That was a formative movie for me. There
I
was a
can
lot.
tell.
There
I
was a
can
lot going
tell.
on because I've already established how I feel about Jason Marsden, and I pray he never sees this. He probably will not.
Don't send
Um,
this to him for real. Don't send this to him.
don't send this to him. Don't do it, please. So that's already happening,
Mhm.
and then Little Miss Mochaccino, and then Bradley Uppercuts. That movie's a classic. Anyways, we're gonna move on to
We
our
are moving
next two.
forward.
Our next two up are Arrested Development and Community.
All right. So community, that I think a lot of everyone, our audience is familiar with Community, so we're not going to get into that. But Arrested Development, I'm going to let Bobby get into it because I've never seen it.
It's a phenomenal show. It's such a good comedy.
Mhm.
First of all, I'm a Jason Bateman girly. If he's in a comedy, I'm gonna watch it. Like it's just that simple. That white man is fucking funny, and he carries the show. Basically, it's about the Bluth family who are they like own this banana
Mhm.
empire. It's a
Okay.
company that makes frozen bananas. Bluth Frozen Bananas. That's the like family business. And their dad, who's played by Jeffrey Tambor, goes to jail. Because
Mhm.
I think it's like he commits like fraud or something like that. And this is just a family of fuck ups, if like for lack of a better term. They're all objectively awful people. Um, and that's what makes it so funny, like the push and pull of this like funny family. And then like a big thing from the show is like there's always money in the banana stand, which spoiler alert, um Jeffrey Tambor's character left money for his family when he went to jail
Mhm.
lining the walls of the banana stand, and at some point in the show it gets like burned down, and he was like there's always money in the bananas, and he would like say it um
Like
as a like a
almost.
yeah, as like a phrase to be like so his family thought they were saying it's always money in the family business, but he was literally saying there's always money in the banana stand. And so that's what a lot of the show would just be, a lot of like mishaps and misunderstandings and everything like that. And it's really, really good. I will say the first half of the show before it got canceled, really, really good. The second half when it got picked up by Netflix,
Drop in quality, you think?
Netflix, you know I love you. And I'd love to still be invited to things, but it was not good. It was not good. So yeah, that's Arrested Development. It's one of my favorite shows for sure.
That's interesting. I think I keep getting Arrested Development mixed up with anger management because I was like listening to you say everything. I'm just like, that's not at all what I thought the show was about.
No, I think it was one of those shows that
Mhm.
benefited greatly from going to a streaming
It
service.
did. It did. That's actually what I have to say about it for the cancellation thing. So I guess
Oh,
I'll talk a little bit about it first and then get into Community because Community, god damn, there are a lot on that show's cancellation.
I bet.
But people believe that the recasting of I think someone's girlfriend did like kind of hurt the show. And also the fact that it was a sleeper hit. Like it wasn't popular when it was on TV, but when it went to streaming, it became insanely popular. Like I guess it's like the Schitt's Creek phenomenon.
Pretty much, yeah.
But it's just unfortunate that this show couldn't super um, it wasn't able to survive and thrive the way that Schitt's Creek did. And that's what people believe led to the ultimate downfall of the show.
Hmm. I agree. I think the second, like the revival when it went to Netflix,
Mhm.
just didn't work in a lot of cases because everyone was like also like older. It You could tell that they cared about the characters and the story, but it wasn't as funny. I think they were it was almost as if someone whoever wrote it and because they were given like a one sentence description of the show, and so they just kind of wrote it to where they thought like how they thought it would be versus like the things that the characters would actually do. um I think they might have recast maybe, or no, actually George Michael, his girlfriend, and his girlfriend I think was, what's her name? I gotta look it up, but she's the voice of Katara in Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think her name is like May something, but I think she might not have come back for the revival, so maybe that's what it was.
Maybe.
Um, but yeah, it they definitely kind of lost the
They lost the
plot.
plot.
They lost the plot quite a bit. Yeah, her name was Anne in the show, but I can't remember the actress's name.
And Community. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh
Gosh.
boy. Even though that show is like, I think it's considered like a cult classic of comedies at this point.
Yeah, people
Uh,
love it.
the show had a lot of production issues in its run. Um, one of the biggest ones was Chevy Chase, who would like openly speak negatively about the show. And it seemed like it was hard for him to work on the show. Like there was a lot of conflict between production and Chevy Chase. Um, at, I think it's in season three. Was it after season three or season four, where Dan Harmon, the creator, was fired from the show?
Oh, wow.
So that was another blow. Um, and then in season three, they just NBC, which aired a Community, decided to change the scheduling, like the airing schedule of the show, which is almost always the beginning of the end in TV. When
Yeah,
people are in a routine of watching a show at this time on this date, um, you're going to lose a lot of the audience by changing that.
yeah.
And then like another blow was the Russo brothers, who eventually became known for their stint in the Marvel universe. Um, also left the show to do the Captain America movie. I believe it was the first one.
Oh, like Captain America, was it First Avenger?
Yes, I believe so.
Mhm.
And they were responsible for some of like the most beloved episodes, like the fistful of paintballs, which I believe is the paintball episode everyone cites, and the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons episode, which is
Hmm.
well liked. So it was like a culmination of things that ultimately ended in the show getting canceled.
Interesting, because I know I've never seen Community.
Mhm.
I was gonna watch it, and then I got a bunch of TikTok comments calling me Abed, so now I won't be watching it. So y'all ruined that for me. Thanks so much. But I know the whole thing with them was like 6 seasons and a movie, and I know they didn't make it to six
Yeah,
seasons. Nor did they
they
make a
didn't.
movie.
It actually came from a joke that was in the show with the character of Abed that was like that started the six seasons and a movie thing, and then like fans kind of adopted that and like applied it to the show specifically.
Gotcha.
And I think it's also one of those shows where I made a TikTok about this about main character syndrome. There's like two types of main characters. One with the show cannot function without the main character, and the second type where the show can function without the main character. Community could absolutely have functioned without Joel McHale's character
He
because
was the main character?
the main character.
I guess I just saw it solely as like an ensemble piece where there was like
I thought it
no
was
main
too,
character.
but he was the main character. Like the whole thing, like I think it's mostly followed his like whole story in the beginning, and I think they ended up starting to I think they eventually like made it more of an ensemble cast as the
Mm.
show went on because the other characters were just so much more interesting than him.
Yeah, literally. Like I don't anytime I see anything about Community, it's never
Never.
around his character.
I didn't even know he was in the show until I watched the pilot.
Damn. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn, Joe.
um,
That's sad.
I
But
also like am confused by Joel McHale's stature because when I look at him, he looks like he's like 5'7", 5'9",
he's
and then
tall.
stand up and he's like six something.
Yeah,
Like
he's
he's
very tall.
I don't like
Oh.
that.
You don't like not being able to anticipate someone's height?
Mhm.
Oh my god.
I don't like that.
Well, to be fair, before we found out your real height, which is not 5'5", it's not 5'5", I was like, "Oh, yeah, Momo's tall," and then I found out we're the same height because I feel like I look like I'm short. I know my proportions. I know that I look short.
You're not short,
Eh,
you're 5'5".
wink, wink. Yeah, 5'5". And then yeah, I found out we were both 5'5".
Yeah.
We're not 5'2" at all. Not, and not in the least. You would be surprised.
Yeah.
But I respect that. He's a tall boy.
So which one do you want to go with?
I'm going with Arrested Development
All right.
easily. And I think it's a show. It's one that I don't recommend often because I think it has a very specific kind of like candor and taste. And I know that if you don't like shows that are often times a lot of characters fucking up in succession,
Mhm.
then it can be a lot. But I do think it's legitimately funny and it's some of the most clever writing I've ever seen in my entire life. It's so good. Highly
I
recommend
think
it.
it kind of gives me from you explaining it, it gives me like if Succession was a comedy.
Yes, it's why I thought Succession was a comedy. So I was like, oh, it's like
It's like, oh, this isn't a comedy, this is a drama. Wow.
no, like let's get some fucking laughs in here. Like, have you guys not seen Arrested Development? Because I think you guys would enjoy it. But I digress. But I think you would enjoy it. It's just a well written show too.
All right. Next up, we got some. I think
Eh,
Bobby has thoughts and feelings on some of these.
Oh, don't piss me off. Oh, don't piss me off. Oh, don't piss me off. Because now I'm about to get into it. Oh, now I'm about to get
Okay, I
into it.
want to see you get into it. That's good content. What are your thoughts and feelings on Girl Meets World? If you are new here, Bobby is possibly the biggest fan ever of the original Boy Meets World. So I know she has thoughts and feelings on Girl Meets World.
I'm amongst the biggest because I only got into it because someone else that I know is a even bigger fan and was like, "I think you'll enjoy the show." And I was like, "Oh, I remember watching it when I was a kid." And then we went back together and watched it, and I was like, "Okay, now I'm invested." And I still do think that I will be getting married to Ryder Strong. I know he's married with children and happy, but it's never too late. You know what I mean? But Girl Meets World. Not only are the main characters fucking insufferable, but the most egregious part of the show is when they decided to take my heart, rip it out of my chest, and hold it in front of my face and offer help, and then just rescind it back. When they decided to invite back Sean and Angela, which if you've watched the main series, you know that at the end of it, Angela decides to go with her father, who's in the military, to Europe, and Sean stays back, and their relationship is kind of up in the air. No one really knows what happens to it. It's assumed that they go their separate ways. So then they have the audacity to bring them back to this show and tease that they make it back together, and then Sean ends up with some white woman. They piss me off. They really piss me off because why would you do that? Why would you do that? In addition to the fact that like they should have addressed the fact that in the original series, famously, Topanga puts all of her dreams on hold for fuck ass Corey. And if you again in the original series, Corey cheats on her a couple of times. So she
I think
puts
most famously at the ski lodge.
at the ski lodge with a character played by Linda Cardellini. He cheats on her. Topanga had the prospects of going to Yale. And Topanga's character was like very book smart and like nerd. She worked hard to get to the point where she could get accepted to Yale and go and be a lawyer. She puts all of that on the back burner for Corey. And now in this show she owns a bakery or something.
Not even a lawyer?
No.
Wow. Wow.
The only person who like runs for any type of like lawyer or office or anything is Eric.
And he wins, doesn't he? I think he becomes like the mayor of New York.
And it's just confusing because you're like the objective dumbest person on the show somehow figures it out and becomes a whatever. So I don't
Is
know.
that not true to life, though?
It really is, though. It really is. Like I can't say that it's just so unrealistic because
Yeah.
it's very true. But that's how I feel about Girl Meets World. It was what in a sense not a very good follow up to Boy Meets World. Um, they are forever on my shit list. I don't know which producer gave the okay for Sean to not get back with Angela, but the minute I find out who you are, oh baby, we gonna have some words. We're gonna talk because that was simply unacceptable. It simply was.
I understand your frustration.
I'm hot. I'm like
And this show specifically, like, there's no one reason why the show was canceled. I think a blanket statement for what led to the cancellation is that it could not live up to the like standard Boy Meets World set, and that's what ultimately led to the downfall. In my very personal opinion, I think that what the production wanted and like what Disney wanted from the show was so different from what the 90s babies that were excited for the show wanted to see.
exactly.
Like it seemed like the like production were more interested in getting new kids to watch it. And the 90s babies that wanted to enjoy the show were like really pissed that they weren't being like, I guess, catered to, I guess, because it was like a show that they grew up watching. And it's just like, hey, you're spinning off the show that I dedicated all of my Saturdays to from like ages 5 to like 15. And the show that you like put on is so not at all like that. But I think it's also the fact that Boy Meets World had years worth of character development that they almost wanted to see, I guess, either continued or also see reflected in the new characters of Girl Meets World. Also, kids didn't even really like the show either. Like, it
No,
wasn't connecting with anyone, so it got canceled.
like when it made it to TikTok,
Yeah.
people made fun of Riley because she was just not that great of a character.
Yeah.
Like with how they like wrote her in certain ways, and she was like very codependent on her friend
I th-
Maya.
I think they probably tried to write her like the original middle school Corey, but that doesn't work for girls. Like if you write a girl like the way you would write an equally annoying middle school boy, it's going to be received differently.
It's gonna be like much differently, and I just don't think that they gave it much
They
thought.
didn't think about that.
They didn't consider that at all. And honestly, what they probably should have done was have the show be an ABC Family show
I
that focused
agree. That's
on
a good idea.
they should have focused in on like Topanga, Corey, Eric, Sean older, and
Hmm.
they just happened to have kids.
Hmm.
Like all of them just like happen to have kids and lives and stuff, but it focuses on them versus trying to have Girl Meets World where it's like
That's the thing. Like the idea you're pitching is what the audience that enjoyed Boy Meets World wanted to see.
yeah. They don't care about the kid because
Nobody
it's
wanted to see this.
like Riley is nothing like how Corey was, and also I just don't think that that premise like works for her. Like it's they should have just made a different show if they wanted to focus on the kids.
Like also the fact that they implemented the like annoying little brother thing for Riley when the whole Morgan thing didn't work out. Why
No,
would you do that? Like it doesn't work. You don't need the little boy.
it doesn't work at all because Morgan in the show. Corey has two siblings, but they treat it for the majority of the show as if it only has one, which is
Yeah.
Eric, his older brother. But they forget about Morgan, and then she just shows up randomly at the end.
Yeah.
Get rid of the like younger sibling.
It does not work. It literally doesn't. It only works if you're going to spend the time and incorporate the youngest character into the story like they did with That's So Raven. but
Mhm.
most often when they have the like a sibling, it really only works if the sibling is older.
Yeah, I think like also it took like the brilliance of Corey and Eric's relationship really is that Eric was so empty-headed in a lot of ways, but then he would have these like random moments of like being a really good brother, and you could tell that he cared for his family. He just wasn't very smart.
Yeah.
But he like I don't know, it was just a lot better of a situation than like having a younger sibling when the whole premise of the show is that the main character is trying to figure shit out, but they're also like having to be an older it just doesn't work. It doesn't work out.
And then Sabrina the Animated Series, which is the first time the animated series of Sabrina the Teenage Witch has made it to this show. It was really short lived. It is the most confusing spin-off I have ever seen
Really?
because it's a spin-off of the live action show, which was like airing at the same time. But Sabrina is like at least 3 to 4 years younger than she is in the show and has access to her magical powers, which conflicts entirely with the premise of the actual live action show. Um, it is, it's so wild. And like, if you look up episodes of the show or just like look up the show with how they have her aunts, like Hilda and Zelda, they just look like lesbians. They don't look like lesbians. They just look like women that are in love. They have like
Wait.
such polar opposite like character designs and vibe. Just like, oh, okay, so like her like one of them is her actual aunt and then that's her aunt's wife. But they're both supposed to be genetically related to her and it is such a weird vibe.
I need to see. I need to see her
Yeah.
on Snap. Okay. Um, oh, wow,
Do they not
yeah.
look like lesbians in love?
They do look like lesbians. They wow, they didn't even consider that at all.
And I'm
That's
just like,
insane.
wow, it's like an unnecessary, it's not unnecessary, unintentional progressive like animated show in like the early 2000s. Um, and it wasn't like a particularly liked show. I think it's because it's so confusing. Because if you're telling me this is a spin-off, but it takes place 4 years before, contradicts with everything that happened in the entire first 3 seasons of the show, like what?
I'm gonna put the lesbian aunts, or they're not lesbians, but aren't
The
they?
might as well be lesbians on
They might
screen.
as they might as well, because that's insane. I was like, "Oh, they're probably" they didn't
No,
even try
they
to make
don't
them look like
try.
aunts.
They look like it looked intentional that they were supposed to look different and be referred to as her aunts. But it's like it's confusing because you're like this they're both genetically related to her. I'm like, are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
Also, one of them is, like, always wearing a mini skirt, which is a little bit weird, because why? Like, they're not dressed as aunts at all.
They
Like,
are
not
dressed
even a little
like
bit.
20-year-olds that had to become aunts for circumstances beyond their control.
Exactly. That's pretty much what it is, and, like, I can't remember, do they treat it like that in the show?
I
Or
no,
are
I
they
don't.
supposed to be, like, in their 40s?
I think in the live action show, um, they were always taking care of Sabrina. Like that's how it's literally always been.
Yeah. That is so interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
if it will cooperate, we can look at this together because I need everyone to see what's
Yeah.
going on here because these look like
Like
a pair of lesbians.
and more than likely last time on the show. The sister, sorry, Sabrina was not voiced by Melissa Joan Hart. It was actually voiced by her sister Emily Hart. Whereas Melissa produced the show, but also voiced both Hilda and Zelda.
What?
Right?
Why would she do that? Also, that okay, never mind. I'm not even gonna attempt to try and figure out why they wouldn't just get two actresses that don't because I know she didn't do anything that different with her voice. I just know that.
I
I
mean,
just
you
know
haven't
that.
seen the show. You don't know. She could have. I don't remember it well enough.
I don't trust that she did. But here it is. It should be up.
Yeah,
These two,
it's
those two
the
next to her.
girl in the red shirt with like the glasses and the long hair. I don't think it's either Hilda or Zelda. I don't know. And
I
then
think
the
it's
woman
Hilda.
in the dress slash two piece that's like purple is Hilda or Zelda. I don't know, but those are the odds. Yeah, it's weird, but I think Nick Bakay is how you say his name, who voices Salem in the live action, also voices Salem in the animated series.
Okay, I can get down with that because
And
Salem's one of the best parts.
Chloe Flan or Flan, I think it's probably Flan, which is Sabrina's black best friend and the only human that knows about her powers, is voiced by none other than, you know who it is,
Bree Summer.
Summers.
I'm okay. I'm first of all, I'm sick that they were like, we're not gonna give Sabrina a black best friend in the live action show, but we'll
Right.
give her one in the animated show that no one will probably see.
I think it had like it had only 65 episodes, I believe. Again, 65 episode rule.
65 episode rule. I think in my memory, I was getting this show confused with Brace Face because the character
Mhm.
design is like close. Uh,
Yeah, it is close. I wouldn't be surprised if the same animation studio worked on it.
it had to have been. It had to have been. But do we know what's gonna move forward? I feel like we do.
I don't know what's moving forward.
I'm not putting Girl Meets World forward. Like, I'm sorry, we gonna be here for all day because I will not budge. I'm not pushing that shit forward.
Fair. But I guess Sabrina the animated series, no one really saw this coming. You get to progress to the next round.
It progresses out of sheer spite. I want everyone to know that it is
Fight.
spite. Oh my gosh. All right. Next up. Ooh, two heavy hitters. And get rid
Oh
of
yeah.
that.
Two controversial shows up next.
Very controversial shows. Next up, we have Victorious versus Zoe 101. And famously, Zoe one. Well, you'll get into the reason why Zoe 101 was canceled. Jamie Lynn.
Ooh, can you save it again? For whatever reason, the image for whatchamacallit is not coming through. For
Oh,
Victoria coming through.
that's weird. It's coming through on my end. Let me do it again. Let's see. Yeah, it won't let me do it because nothing has changed.
Hmm.
But
Well, weird. What? Imagine that says victorious. I don't know. I guess some kind of glitch is happening with the system we are using.
let me do
But
it one more time.
the
Let's see.
top one is victorious.
Yes.
Both of these shows.
Sorry, I'm gonna turn it off and turn it back on again. See if that works.
There we go.
There we go. Fixed it.
Victorious versus Zoe 101. As we all know, one character was in both these shows.
And it's Victoria Justice, babe. Victoria's always got a job. Justice. Maybe well, maybe not now. But like then, she was she was bebopping around all these Nickelodeon shows. Good for her.
I feel almost a little bad for her because she wasn't. I think she was like painted as like the bad guy when like she was just a kid.
She was like on Zoe 101 or on Victorious.
For both. Like she was what, 16, 17?
Yeah, probably by the time she got to Victorious, and then I think because she came in and replaced the girl.
Dana, yeah.
Yeah, Dana on Zoe 101. She was
Ooh, yeah, audio went down for a second.
like, oh.
Oh, you're back. You're back now.
Okay, I might have been like away from the microphone, but yeah, I think with Victorious, it's hard because you could see that she was kind of clearly not the most talented person on the cast, and
Which is
like
interesting because she literally came up with the idea for Victorious. Like she was in middle school and she like they were brainstorming with a room of actual people that were paid to do this, and she like came up with the idea and they're just like, that's actually a good idea, kid.
and then they were just like, "You want to be in it?" And she's like,
I think
"Sure."
they were making a show for her.
And so she came up, I mean, like, she was a good part of it, but they didn't have to go and get, like, Liz Gillis, Ariana Grande, like, pre
Both of them, like Liz Gillies and Ariana Grande, were both Broadway kids. They were on the same production of what, 13 the musical?
and I think, Leon is his name Leon Thomas III? He was also on Broadway too.
He was on Broadway. He was in a lot of shows. I think most famously The Lion King.
Oh, wow.
And like he was also like sort of one of those singer kids that Nickelodeon kept bringing back in different shows.
Yeah. They were like, "You're talented. We're not gonna get anyone else." So,
And Avon Jogia was just hot.
he was just hot.
And I don't know how Matt and what's her name got on the show, but they're there too.
They needed comedic relief. So, I think the only problem is that they played it as, like, Tori was this, like, child prodigy who made it into this fine arts high school, and she wasn't better than Ariana, Leon, or Liz. Like, they were eating her up consistently, and, like, that's an issue. That's a problem. I feel bad. But you know what? Victoria, I wanna tell you something.
Mhm.
I still play Freak the Freak Out and My Best Friend's Brother. And what's the other one?
They were good songs.
What was it? Ice cream always. Oh no, that is Freak the Freak Out. Those songs were good. They were bangers. I'm sorry. Like, they were bops and bangers. So
Like
what
also her show that came after this, Eye Candy, was really good. It was an MTV show that was like short-lived. She was basically being hunted by a serial killer that was like obsessed with her. And it was a decent show, honestly. And then it got canceled because MTV wasn't very good at managing their dramas at the time.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That
Like,
is
all they do is just pay dues to Rob Deerdick. That's all they do now.
those shows are simply sacrifices
They
to
are.
Rob
Deerdick's paycheck.
to Rob Deerdick. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But Zoe, I don't. This one's hard. I guess we didn't talk about Zoe 101 yet, and I feel like
Everyone and their mama knows why Zoe 101 was canceled, because it was the talk of our generation. Jamie Lynn Spears pregnant, Zoe 101 canceled.
And it's just as simple as that. I mean,
the show could have gone on, but Jamie Lynn Spears ruined our lives.
Had to go and get pregnant, and it came right back around. Jamie Lynn, mooching off your sister, shameful. Jamie Lynn had her sister showing up to set because some people were bullying her allegedly. And she had Britney Spears showing up to set, getting these kids together. Britney Spears, like at that time, Britney Spears, biggest star in the world. Jamie Lynn, you wrong for that.
I would leave the show too. Like I would, like the girl that played Dana, I would not want to be like 13 in that environment, knowing that my co-star, if I made them upset in any way, would just try to ruin my career with her
their pop star sister.
I'm like, bye, no thanks.
No, leaving, peace out. But before Jamie Lynn had to go and ruin all of our lives, Zoe 101 was a pretty solid show.
Really, really good show.
It was a really good show.
Like I think the dynamic between the kids and their characters. Unfortunately, Quinn is, for whatever reason, not pictured in this one. Was she a main character in the beginning, or was she a main character in season 2?
I think she started to come into the fold more in season 2.
Okay, this is obviously a picture of season 1 because Dana's here. But this was like ultimately a really, really good show. Like this boarding school for were they just rich kids that was like in California, I guess.
I think that's just the vibe. Like they like tried to like treat it as if going to boarding school is like a popular thing that happens all the time. And it's like, she lives at school. Most kids do not live at school until college.
Yeah. And they got like scooters, and they went to the beach on their like vacation. I think it was like a spring break thing. They just looked like they had so much fun.
Yeah. Like, it made me want to go to boarding school. That didn't happen, but I did want to because it's so.
They made it seem fun. They basically gave the college experience to middle schoolers and made middle schoolers think that's what middle school could be, if
Yeah,
only.
that's pretty much what it was, and then you tell your parents, "Oh, I wanna go to boarding school," and they're like, "Do you know how expensive that is? You don't go for free." Um,
All of these kids were just like dripping in wealth, but you would not be able to tell that from their Kmart style.
nope, nope, they all look at these outfits.
This is an Old Navy commercial.
This is Old Navy this is bad, this is what it is. It's bad, but it is no yeah, none whatsoever. No drip, none of that. Also, one thing I feel like is a weird legacy of Zoe 101 is famously the brother, that was in, like, Zoe's little brother, what's his name?
Right.
Dustin or something like that, he's taken the Tom Felton approach with the show, and that is he is reminding people at every single turn that he was on Zoe 101.
Was that is it. Oh goodness. Oh, I should probably talk about a little bit about why Victorious was canceled. All of this I'm about to say is speculation, but fans seem to take two schools of thought. It's very split. Half of them blame Ariana because they're like, oh, she wanted to focus on her singing career and do Sam and Cat, and they wouldn't be able to do she wouldn't be able to do all those things and then also work on Victorious. And my thoughts on that is that I don't think that is even a little bit true because Kat is not at all an important character to that show worth canceling it over.
No.
She wasn't even in a lot of episodes.
No, I mean, like, she was when she showed up, I think people enjoyed her, but she wasn't vital to the stories, like, by any means.
Yeah, she wasn't important to it really at all. So I don't think that it even makes sense. Others blame Victoria Justice because I really don't know why. They're just like there was like a lot of speculation between her relationship with the rest of the cast, but nobody knows them personally, so it's not like they can say. I think people don't understand the fact that these people were literally paid to work together. They didn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be friends. Some of them were, some of them weren't. It's really as simple as that.
And I think that's, like it didn't help things when, Ariana put, like I think she put the, Danielle, whatever her name is, and Liz and, the one with the puppet, in the "Thank You Next" video, and everyone was like, "Oh, like, so she's not friends with Victoria Justice, like, confirmed." It's like, they maybe just didn't they
Vibe.
weren't not
They might,
friends, but they just were like, "We're coworkers." That was
yeah.
it.
And like Liz and Ariana knew each other from when they were 13. So of course she's gonna have her in the music video. And she could have been really good friends with she was really good friends with Matt on the show because they had the most scenes together.
They were like a couple, so it
They,
makes sense.
like you're going to develop a much stronger relationship with people you work together more often with than ones that you might be in the same show with, but you don't even share many scenes with.
Yeah, like, Tori mainly dealt with, like, her sister, and then, like, the cast as a whole, and then maybe Jade, like, because Tori was consistently trying to get with
Yeah.
Beck.
And like her and um Avanjokia were like really good friends throughout the show.
Yeah.
Like they did a lot of like YouTube stuff together. On if you used to watch Dan Schneider's YouTube, like they would always be together. They worked on that movie Spectacular, I think, together. So like they had like history working together. So it's weird to me that people would just be like, she's obviously the problem when you just don't have interactions with the other people as much.
You just don't and, like, I think it's hard with shows for, like, younger audiences because they're, like, having so much fun, and so you think that
Yeah.
they, like, have to be friends behind the scenes in order to do it, but they're actors. The point is to act. And
Yeah.
also, like, you don't like every single person that you've ever worked with.
It's
Like,
true.
that's okay. That's okay. So, oh,
Yeah, and it's not like either of these women tried to ruin the other's career like Jamie Lynn Spears tried to do with like her coworkers. They just weren't friends, and it's really that simple.
it's just as like, they were cordial, and that's all they literally had to be,
That's
was
all they
cordial.
But people like were inventing all this like bad blood between them, like I don't know, it was unnecessary. But what ultimately what I'm wanting to get at is that, well, fans are making these speculations like, oh, it's her fault. No, it's her fault. I think as we got older and started to maybe rewatch the show or think about it a little bit more, we started to notice some things, like a lot of unnecessary foot stuff in episodes and in shows related to it.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to guess, it's more likely having to do with production versus these actors.
A certain member of
Yeah.
production whose name was tied to the project, who also is responsible for Drake and Josh and the Amanda Show.
Also responsible for the spin-off Sam and Cat that was quickly canceled shortly after being a show.
Yep.
So
Thor.
I think it's unfair to blame these two actresses, and that's where I'm going to leave that.
Yep, we're going to say allegedly,
I have no facts.
that it was probably that person who was
Yeah.
causing some problems because he's had some issues with other people.
And I
In the
think it's time to deliberate now. I feel like maybe we'd surprise each other with which one we would vote for.
should we do a countdown?
All right. 3, 2, 1. Zoe 101.
Victorious. Okay. Well, I this one I'm not like I'm willing to kind of like bend a little bit because I like them both the exact same.
Okay. Like I really enjoyed Zoe 101 because I thought it was just like really fun, with like the Jet X and like the kind of budding romance that happened between Quinn and Logan that was unexpected but happened anyway.
It was a lot better than Zoe and Chase, which was first of all, Chase here looks like he's 17 and the rest of the cast looks like they're 12.
A growth spurt first. I'm pretty sure all these kids were like around the same age.
Poor thing, just sprouted up like a bean sprout, but he does look like a lot older than the rest.
In this picture, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's
Uh,
hilarious.
and we're nearly done. We only have 2 more rounds of this, and then it's round 2.
All right, so Zoe 101 advances
Forward.
on.
And our next 2 on the board.
Our next one on the board, I have literally 0 opinions about, so this one is going to be all Momo. We've
The
got
girls who get it. The girls who don't. For these 2 shows specifically, actually, really just the first one, because Twisted was, if you watched it, it was again an ABC Family drama, and we all know what happens to ABC Family dramas. Um, this one was, for whatever reason, at the time of its airing, really gripped the preteen teen. And I think for whatever reason, was because it was almost like immediately after Victorious was canceled, and all the girlies that were in love with Beck just migrated over to here to watch Avanjogia as
oh my God.
Danny. And in this show, Avanjokia's character was, his name is Danny, was charged with murdering his aunt when he was 11. It turns out his dad did it, but
Okay.
like, he, like, the dad let him go to like a juvenile detention center
Oh,
for
he let his son take the fall.
his 11-year-old son take the blame for it.
Wow.
The show actually picks up 5 years later when he's released from the juvenile detention center and like back into his hometown and everything. And in his attempts to like rekindle his friendship with his childhood friends, he and like set out to clear his name because he knows who did it and he kept it a secret. Like he ends up being the suspect of a different murder that happens like almost immediately, like as he gets back. And he's
Damn.
obviously blamed for that one too, because it's like, hey, the killer kid that didn't get charged for the crime is now back, and now there's a kid that's been murdered. It's obviously that guy. We never find out who did that murder because the show was canceled. And again, because it's an ABC Family show in like the early 2010s, there was an unnecessary love triangle between Danny and his 2 female best friends. One, Kylie Bunbury, who is the absolutely drop dead gorgeous black girl in the poster.
The
I,
other one's looking a little sinister with this like half face
yeah.
situation going on.
He always had a thing for um the first girl. I cannot remember her name. But then the second girl, the blonde one that's like half her face is half cut out, always loved him and believed him from the get go that he didn't do it, and it was all over him, blah 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 blah. But again, he liked the other girl, but then the other girl was like, I don't want to give up my new popularity to be seen with you, because you're like known as a killer here. And things happen. They date, they break up. He's like, oh, I realized I loved the blonde girl all along. And then they try to get together, and the show's canceled.
And that's why it was canceled.
Yeah.
Don't you ever leave a black queen like that again. That's exactly why it got canceled.
Like, and you could tell from how they were framing it, this was supposed to be the mystery drama that rivaled Pretty Little Liars, but it just didn't work out that way.
I don't know why NBC Family thought a show led by a man was going to do well when ABC Family has always been for the girlies. We all know this.
I don't think it's what's very interesting about the show is that even though the main like question circled around Avanjogia's character, the show seemed to center quite a bit on the blonde girl.
Hmm.
And I think that's what was like a major issue. And then the show was just like canceled. We never found out anything else about it.
Interesting. Interesting. I mean, I have some theories, but that really is just that one where he broke up with the black girl to be like, oh, I love the blonde girl all
There was
along.
a happy resolution to that though,
What?
because like I think either later the same year or the next year, there was like a mini series called Tut that was released starring Avanjogia, and his love interest was none other than Kylie Bunbury, the black girl in this picture.
Like they get back at the end of the day.
Yeah,
It
so
worked out.
like, there was we still got the romance, even if it wasn't those characters specifically.
That's
And
fair.
then heroes.
What can be said? The only thing I remember about Heroes is that it came pretty soon after Hayden Panettiere starred in Bring It On All or Nothing. And
It
I was
did.
just like, that's so interesting.
It did. There were a lot of things that happened during production that was like really strange, because I believe Milo Ventimiglia, I don't know how you say his last name properly.
The guy from This Is Us.
Yeah, the guy from This Is Us and Hayden Panettiere did date while they were on the show. The thing is, he plays her uncle. So that was weird.
That was okay. All right. I don't know how they made that decision after doing scenes where she's like, I love you, uncle. And she's like, I love you too, niece. Oh
So I was
gosh.
like, that's weird. I remember like watching probably like E News or TMZ, and like that was a topic, and I was just like, she's
Ew.
dating her uncle? That's weird. And this show was ultimately canceled. For not even though it was highly like it was what's the word I'm looking for? It suffered a massive blow in season 2, I believe, because of the 0708 writer strike. And they
Mm,
had to like cut it short, and the story was not it never really fully recovered from that. But it was an amazing show, even though like the plot did kind of suffer. It was the most downloaded show of the year. It was when it was canceled, and it was
damn.
because people were more moving towards like DVR, and they were like watching the show later. But at that time, networks still cared more about who was watching it live,
Yeah. They didn't care about like not streaming, but like
like
download
TiVo
and
and such. They didn't care about DVR streams, and that's what ultimately like get like led to the show getting axed. As time went on, like networks started to realize, hey, delayed views are still views, and nowadays they don't really care about who watches it as it airs, like for the most part. Um, and it did end up coming back in a spin-off slash revival
It
called
sounds like it's hurting you to
in
talk about this.
2015 called Heroes Reborn, and it was the most ass show I have ever seen ever. It was genuinely bad. It you basically killed off any character development, anything, everything we know about the characters. Like the people that were just good are now all of a sudden evil, and we don't know why.
Okay, fun. Switch it up.
Like Peter Petrelli, played by Milo, the guy from This Is Us, Hayden Panettiere, don't even return.
Okay, fair.
And they're like really the main characters, even though it's like more of an ensemble cast. They were just like the biggest part of the cast. They tried to focus on Hayden Panettiere's kids, or like kids in the show, and that story didn't work. We one of the who played the son, it was the kid that played Peter Pan in Once Upon a Time.
I have no idea. I
Well,
was about to say
that
Jeremy Sumter?
no, no, not Jerry.
I didn't know
The,
where we were going.
the guy that played Peter Pan in Once Upon a Time played the son, and I don't even know who played the daughter. Um, it was just so, I don't even have words for how bad it was.
That's terrible. Why would they bring I mean, I guess they were like, "Oh, people loved Heroes and now we care about downloads and streams now, so we'll bring it back."
And the whole show didn't work. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to talk about it.
Oh my god. It sounded like it hurt for you
It
to
did
to
hurt. It
tell
did
it.
hurt. That was hard. But I think if I had to vote for who goes through, because I dedicated so much time to Heroes, even though I've never seen the last episode, I always watch up until like the one before the last, and then start over from the beginning because I don't want to know how it ends. Um, I think I still have to vote for Heroes though, because Twisted, no.
I am also going to vote for Heroes because it's the only one that I knew.
And our final pairing, I think everyone knows one of these shows.
For sure.
The first one might be a little bit newer to you and the rest of the audience. Do you know Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist?
I
Oh, they were both all already on.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, well
Okay, now we're good.
now they're back on.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you know Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist?
I did, not to humble brag or anything, but what I've talked about it before, but I was an intern at NBC and I was an intern the year that Zoe's in Extraordinary Playlist was like I was there right before it premiered. So
Oh
that's how
my
I kind of know
God,
about
that's
it.
so fun. Like it's a really, really good show.
It's
Um,
fun.
it's
I
just
like
a
the
shame
premise.
it got canceled. And I think everyone knows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think people think the time it got canceled, because people's memories are very short, was with season 8. That's what it was canceled. It wasn't necessarily canceled. That wasn't it. It was canceled like years before that by Fox,
Yeah,
and
it
then
was a fun
picked up
show.
nearly immediately by NBC.
They were like,
No, they
"Woo."
picked up with a quickness.
Yeah, they were because I think they probably saw because when it got canceled by Fox, everyone was like, "Why would you cancel this show? It's really,
Right?
really good." And so NBC saw that and was like, "Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
pick it up."
What's so funny about that is that Brooklyn Nine-Nine was originally pitched to NBC and they passed. So they ended up going with Fox, and NBC regretted it after seeing how like popular it was. So they were just like, we passed the first time, we're not gonna let this pass by us again.
When God closes a door,
And
he
that
opens a
showed
window.
a quickness. That show was canceled for like 10 minutes.
And then it was like, "And it's back up on."
Yeah, like it was canceled for 10 minutes. I think it was like Netflix, someone else, and NBC were fighting on who got to have it.
It's like,
They
fine.
came to like digital blows for it, and NBC ended up winning out.
Which I think was the best look for it because if it was on Netflix, it would have got ruined in some
Yeah,
way,
I
shape, or
I think
form.
NBC was a good home for it as well.
It's got like an NBC sitcom vibe to it.
It does.
It was a good it was kind of like the holy trinity of NBC for a little bit with like
Mhm.
Good Place and Superstore.
It was. It really was. And Zoe's extraordinary, is it extraordinary or extraordinary?
I think it just depends on how you say it. I say Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
Okay, extraordinary playlist. This is like a very niche show. So
Yeah.
essentially, what happens is that Zoe is like facing anxiety or something. So she ends up going. No, I don't. I think that I'm wrong. Her father has some kind of um like degenerative disease, and she's getting like an MRI to see like for something, and like an earthquake happens, something magical, and now anytime people are having strong emotions, like she sees them play out as a musical. So she like essentially hallucinate a musical, and it's usually some kind a cover of a major pop song.
Yeah, it's like a jukebox musical.
Yeah, like a juke, it's a jukebox musical TV that happened because of an accident with an MRI. And it was really, really good. It was like it's not even, I can't say it's like Glee other than the musical thing, but this show had so much heart and
Mhm.
love. You could tell that the actors loved playing their characters. I think Skylar Aston is
That name sounds familiar.
he was the like main love interest in the Pitch Perfect movies,
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
like who Becca was supposed to like have a thing for. Um, and he was in the show. He was really good. I think Idina Menzel also is in it.
Probably. Yeah.
Am I mixing her up with someone else? I think it's Idina Menzel. Also Renee Goldsberry,
Yeah.
who played Angelica for on Hamilton, was also in it for a bit. It's a very, very good show, but it was canceled. Even though it was very popular for season one, ratings did drop a little bit in season two. So like NBC canceled it, but I don't think it. I personally don't think the ratings dropped enough to justify the cancellation. I just think NBC, like content wise, is moving towards in a different direction, and
Yeah.
um, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist doesn't fit that. And Jane Levy actually spoke out against the cancellation of the show, saying that like it's a shame that this show is canceled because it's about love, it's about heart, and NBC seems to only care about like cop and lawyer shows.
That is very, very true. I do think a show like Zoe's
Mhm.
Extraordinary Playlist would have done well on a streamer versus a network.
I agree. I think it would have done really well on Hulu, I think.
I do too. I agree. Because I think it before it got what NBC does now, or at least like back then,
Mhm,
if a show to save it from being canceled,
mhm,
they would push it to only being on like Hulu. So like
mhm,
they would be like, you're not gonna be able to watch it on TV, but you can watch it on Hulu because that's what they did with another show that was really good. AP Bio, which was a really, really funny
mhm,
show. And it, instead of getting canceled, just was sent to digital, meaning that you could only watch new episodes
mhm.
on like Hulu or whatever. And I think that's what happened is always extraordinary playlist before like ultimately getting
Yeah. It's not all bad news though. The show was granted like a 2 hour Christmas special movie to like serve as the series finale. And it's available for stream. It came out December 2021. It's
oh.
available but only on Roku.
Okay. So
So essentially, no one's gonna see it.
yeah, so happy ending kinda because
Yeah, if you're one of the 10 people that have Roku, you can
go nuts.
totally see it.
Why wouldn't they put it on Peacock?
I don't know. I really don't know. It's like the show itself is available for streaming on Peacock. Um, it's unfortunate because again, who has Peacock?
That's true. I do. But yeah.
Like you can't have all of the streaming sites, and
I beg to differ. Pretty much, yeah.
except Roku.
Well, I mean, I think my parents, like, they have a Roku player, but no one's, like, seeking out to get Roku. Like, they
Yeah,
have the physical, like, hardware, not, like, the
the
streaming
streaming
thing.
service. But yeah, it's only available there.
Interesting. They make it exclusive for
They did.
because it was too good.
I do think. I think these shows are different, even though they were on technically the same network. Brooklyn Nine-Nine did fit NBC's cop show theme, and it did have its moments of being really funny. But in order to find the show funny, you had to be laughing at like Jake literally being a terrible cop, but is still being framed as a good police officer.
That's true. He would come around to the right idea eventually, but he was like not really like he was able to skirt by on mediocrity.
Yeah, not only that, but like he did a lot of illegal stuff, and we were just supposed to laugh at it and be like, "Oh, that's Jake." But because he operated mostly off of his gut and was just like that person's guilty, and would they almost like put them in a position to frame them as being guilty.
Yeah, kind of like
And
willed him into doing it.
yeah, and that's like super illegal. And it seemed it people are like it's not people like the show frames it as like he's just a really good cop, but you can't have someone arrested based on a gut feeling.
Yeah, there's no like real pretense there. Like that's not the law.
And what's really like hurtful about the show is that they always show that Jake was right about his gut feeling, which is never, literally never the case in real life.
That is true. I mean, I guess because they always do like fault Amy for being like super over prepared and like by the book, but she's just doing her job.
And that they like make fun of her for that. Where like I'm not saying there's anything like a good cop, but like she was following the rules.
Yeah, of her job. Like she was just doing her job, which is, Jake was just kind of dicking around.
Criticized for that, whereas Jake was literally doing illegal shit every episode and was praised for it.
Well, he would conspire with what is his name, Doug Judy, like
Yeah.
on cases who was a criminal, like charged with stuff. But yeah, I mean, like like once you start to get past the initial layer of Brooklyn Nine Nine, you're like, eh.
Yeah. When you take off the rose-colored glasses, you're just like, "Oh, this is dangerous."
It is I think for when it came out, it
Mhm.
wasn't the timing of it wasn't great. I think if it would have come out maybe 20, 25 years ago, I don't like it would probably be like it's still a beloved
Mhm.
comedy. But the timing of it of when it came out and just like
Yeah.
the social conversation, not great. Not great for
Work
the show.
on its side. Whereas Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist deals on a lot of topics. It's about like the first season is really about um, losing a loved one and knowing it's going to happen
Yeah.
and watching it happen, but also having to live your everyday life. And and somehow it's still a comedy. It's a comedy drama, but
Fun for fun.
like one of the major, if not the major plot line is the fact that her dad is like actively dying. It's a degenerative disease he has. I can't remember what it's called. But he's not unable to speak. He's unable to really feed himself, communicate. But sometimes she'll get to interact with him through his like what she calls a heart song. So whatever his heart's feeling, he'll like be singing it, and it's like she can communicate with him that way, even if
Oh,
he can't if he can't say anything really back.
yeah.
Oh, and also Alex Newell is here. I forgot.
And they're amazing. I mean, like their voice is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I got to see them on Once on This Island a couple years ago. And they were
It reveals so much interesting facts about herself all the time.
this was a while like I think I might have been no, I was in college, but it was I went with my friend or not my friend. I went with my cousin who was a musical theater major. And he was just like, "Oh, we got to go to see this show. It's called Once on This Island." And I was like, "Okay." I had no idea what it was about. I was excited because Leah Salonga was in it. Um and if you don't know, she's the singing voice for Princess Jasmine from Aladdin. So I was like, "Oh, perfect. I'm going to see Leah." And then I see Alex and I'm like, "Oh my
I'm
god."
pretty sure it's their show, is it not?
What? Like
One's on
they
the side. I
like
thought
they originated the role?
I thought they wrote it.
I don't think that they
Just
did.
no, I think you're right. I think they just performed in it.
It was a revival, I think.
Yeah, I think it was one of the first things like they did post Glee
Well,
project,
probably, yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, I think so. because it was around the same, like Glee had ended maybe like a year or two before, and then
Yeah.
that's when I saw them.
I
But
was introduced to Alex through the Glee project, which I did watch every season and every episode of.
and because you're a real Gleek,
It
you're not.
was
You are a minority because you're part of the Glee club.
I'm a minority because I actually watched the Glee project.
Yeah, you're a minority within the minority that
I
is
can
the
at
Glee.
least say I did not go see Glee live in concert slash Glee the live concert movie.
I
I did
don't.
not go see either of them. However, if you are curious, it is available for streaming on YouTube for free.
So it's interesting that you're like, I maintain like a moral high ground because I didn't watch it, but I do know where you can currently stream it.
Yes, I do know where you can currently watch it.
Okay, so I don't get how that's much better, but you know what? For the sake of this argument, I'm gonna go with you on it. I really am. I'm just gonna be
So,
like, yeah, you're
so
much better.
which one do you want to push through?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine is the only one that I've
Mhm.
seen, but I think the story of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist is a little bit more compelling, so I'll give it my vote.
I'll side with you on that as well because I do like both shows. I do really like the heart that went into. Oh no, I was wrong about Adina Menzel. I mixed her up with the lady from Gilmore Girls.
I was like, I know she's not talking about what's her face from Gilmore. I just thought that like Adina made a guest appearance.
No,
Hashtag
I
let's check
totally
because
mixed her up with the lady from
are.
Gilmore Girls.
Oh my gosh. That's something.
This wouldn't be the first time I mixed up an actor for a different actor.
And at this point, it will not be the last. It
Not gonna
will not be the
last.
last. Oh my gosh. So I guess that rounds out round one. And
It
then
does.
it flies by after this.
It does fly by. This is gonna be like after the short break. This will be a very quick stream.
Pretty much, because there's not that many left.
Yeah, let me see. And that's Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so going into round two, again, we only have 10 shows. So we are going to see Scream Queens, Batman, Girlfriends, Infinity Train, The Buzz on Maggie, Arrested Development, Sabrina, the animated series, Zoe 101, Heroes, and Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. We
Ooh.
will see you shortly. Alrighty, and we are back. We have returned for um round two, which will go very quickly. You think we're joking, we're not.
We always fly by it because we've already talked about these shows.
And for the first round of round two, we have two shows that I think Bobby feels very strongly about. I feel
Not
very strongly about one of them.
I feel very strongly. I know which one has to go through,
Mhm.
but it doesn't make the other one any less important.
It does not. They are both very niche shows at
Very
that.
niche. Very niche. I will say Scream Queens, I think, deservedly ended with season 2 when they like switched it and like had them in a hospital. That definitely hurt the show because I think they thrived like having it in a sorority house. That I know Infinity Train has to go through. I mean, it just has to.
It does. It's just such a phenomenal show.
It's so well made. But Scream
Going
Queens,
edits. If you are looking to hire people to work in animation, Bobby and I are available.
we're always available.
Yeah.
We are always available. Just
You
wanna
can reach us at our business email.
and it's everywhere. So don't act like it's not. It's everywhere. Oh my gosh. All right. Like I said, moving on to our next pairing, which hurts me very deeply. Um, Batman the Animated Series versus Arrested Development.
Both are very beloved series. Honestly, both are cult classics. This is like I think this is a very even match.
It is. It's a very even match in like very different ways.
Yes.
Um, I'm gonna say this now. I love Batman the Animated Series. It is one of the best written animated series of all time. It's not fucking Arrested Development, so I'm pushing through Arrested Development because I know Batman the Animated Series will come around eventually if we ever do like a superhero TV show. Like,
We do have that idea. We have not actually like put in the effort to like actually think of shows that would be on that list, but that is a tentative idea we have for eventually a stream.
we do. And Batman, you always have a place in my heart, Illy.
Not
But
mine,
yeah,
but like in Bobby's.
in mine, that's home is where the heart is. Yep, home is where the heart is. But yeah, I gotta push through Arrested Development. It's the first time I'm not gonna kill it right here. I just can't. I can't.
That's valid. You do love Jason Bateman.
What did I? When that man is in a comedy, I'm watching it.
Have you seen the movie oh my gosh, This Is Where I Leave You?
No, is it a comedy?
Yeah, starring Jason Bateman.
This is where I leave you. What is
this
it
is
about?
it's about this family whose dad like just died, and they had to sit shiva because they're like a Jewish family, and basically like reconnect with each other. Jason Bateman. I don't want to spoil it too much, but like it's a really good movie.
That's a comedy drama. Oh wow, Jason Bateman, Tina Fey, Adam Driver, Jane Fonda, Rose Byrne, Catherine Hahn.
Yeah, what's really funny about this movie is that it's about a Jewish family. I don't think the majority
None
of
of
the
them are
family is
Jewish. No, I don't think any of these people are.
It's hilarious. I love it though. It's one of the few movies I have seen many, many times.
It's directed by Sean Levy and music by Michael Giacchino. How have I not seen this?
I don't know how literally I have seen this movie and you haven't seen it.
That's crazy. It has all the things that I love. Okay,
Like, you gotta watch it. This is a recommendation for literally everyone watching this right now. But yeah, it's a really good one.
okay, I'm gonna check it out.
So I think Momo's movie recommendation list is so far 10 Years, which is the reunion special starring like
Channing
most of the stars in
Tatum.
Hollywood. Channing Tatum,
Yeah,
um, Anthony Mackie, uh, Rosario Dawson, Oscar Isaac, the girl that played the Invisible Woman.
yeah, Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah,
Wait, yeah, maybe
yeah, or is it Kate Mara? It's one of those two.
one of them.
It's a really good one, and also This Is Where I Leave You.
I might have to watch. This is where I leave you. I'm
And I guess the next one for you Paul Dano fans from the Batman
What?
movie, which I think the Ave Maria scene has me absolutely dead. It is so funny. That is so funny.
I have seen the Batman now 3 times in theaters, and fun fact, on the 3rd time, leaving the subway, that's where I busted my ass and temporarily dislocated my shoulder, but it's okay, I just overstretched the tendon. We're better now, besties. Anyways, that Ave Maria scene, I know it's supposed to be, like like, tense. It has me rolling every single time.
It is so funny. I don't know how you could have watched that movie and not bursted out laughing because I just saw a clip on TikTok and I was in absolute tears. Absolutely hilarious. But yeah, for Thanos fans, the movie Ruby Sparks, which is written and acted out by, I believe, him and his now wife, amazing movie. It's about a writer who basically tries to write his dream girl, and then she is just suddenly real.
Okay.
It's like their kind of life together. It's essentially the main moral of the story is that even if you were to write your perfect person ever, the most perfect person you can come up with in your mind is could never be perfect enough for you.
Yeah, you're always gonna find something.
Yeah, you're always going to find something wrong with even the most perfect person.
That's true. Also, to an additional note to Paul Dano fans, get those edits off of my For You page. Um, Because listen, I'm always a sucker for an edit, not a Paul
Mhm.
Dano edit. Never a Paul Dano edit. And I'm asking y'all respectfully to stand up. I know that's a lot coming from me. That's real rich when I just like thirsted openly about three fictional characters from an extremely goofy movie. But I'm telling you now, y'all need to stand up, especially after the Batman. Get up, please.
Stand up. Stand
Stand
up.
up, please, because it's getting out of hand. Anyways,
On to our next, like, part 3.
part 3, we have a very uneven
Uneven to the max, because both of these shows have their faults.
They do have their faults.
I think the buzz on Maggie, actually, the buzz on Maggie's only fault is that it was canceled within 2 months of being on air. Girlfriends has a long list of issues. Oh, God.
Girlfriends had enough time to fuck up, honestly.
They did have enough time to fuck up. But I love Tony Childs so much.
That's my aunt. That's my aunt. So I can't go against my aunt.
She is the prettiest one.
She is. She's serving absolute face on this cover. I mean, Maya is too, but like Tony Childs, come on. Come on.
I really don't know which one to pick. I don't know.
Momo, I don't think we're gonna have fucking like picketers outside of our respective houses if we put the buzz on Maggie over girlfriend.
I know.
We can't. We can't.
Uh, okay. I'm gonna go with Girlfriends, mostly because even though I did really love the buzz on Maggie, I think the concept is amazing. I think it's a shame it was canceled so early. I don't, and also the Disney Channel game was top tier.
It was very good. It was
I don't remember enough about the show to justify putting it over Girlfriends, of which I have seen all 8 seasons.
And I do think I would have to say, I feel like you were more of a growing up creepy stan than a Buzz on Maggie stan.
I definitely remember far more about Growing Up Creepy than I do the Buzz on Maggie.
Which is once again not Disney, Discovery Kids supremacy. So
Which, and on a future stream we might have this. It might be just like a majority Discovery Kids shows. So if you aren't Discovery Kids girly, that's unfortunate.
it is. It's very unfortunate. But we persevere and we press on to our second to last pairing of this round, which are the Zoes against each other, because we realized during intermission that we have 2 shows with Zoe in the name.
Yeah. I'm going to say this about Zoe 101. That show was great while it lasted. It really was.
It was.
Because I remember the rejected chant from Now. I don't know if you can hear the lawn people that have now come for whatever reason, even though they cut the lawn yesterday.
I can't. It's okay. You're good.
So Zoe, what is it? The rejected chant? REJE, rejected. You just been rejected. REJECTED, rejected.
I mean, that's just good writing at that point. That's just what that is. And I'm sure they stole that from like some playground somewhere, but
probably. I feel like it's something that happened to one of the writers, and then they were gonna be like, "I'm going to write this now in a script, and it's gonna work and be memorable," and they were correct. And Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist was a show before its time.
It was. I think it was a show ahead of its time, and just a show on the wrong
network.
Wrong network. I think it should have definitely been on a streamer. I think it would have done a lot better on a streamer.
So for that reason, I would push through Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
I agree. I'm gonna go with you on this one. You've captured me. You've convinced me. The story is it's just so good, so good.
And our last pairing,
again, another very kind of lopsided one. Sabrina the Animated Series versus Heroes.
The spinoff that didn't make any sense versus the show that had a spinoff that didn't make any sense.
So they both suffer in that same way.
Yeah. I'm going to have to vote for Heroes because I did specifically order multiple temporary tattoos of Jessica, which is a main character in Heroes, is actual tattoo, and I had it on my body for um, maybe a few months, honestly. Um, Also, my ideal type for most of my life was Peter Petrelli, and it continues to be Peter Petrelli.
I think I'm a little bit taken back because I did not think I was going to learn that you bought a temporary tattoo that resembled a TV character and wore
Oh
it
no, no,
for
no! It's like the same one she has in the show. It's like a symbol that's repeated throughout every season.
okay, so it's not just a
It's not
random.
of the character. It's like a tattoo
No,
that she has, and it's a symbol that's important in the show.
that's what I mean. I didn't know if it
Yeah.
had importance beyond her
Oh
character.
no! I also have a signed poster for like by most of the cast.
Did Hayden Panettiere sign it?
No, I don't think so.
Damn,
I
that's
bought
crazy.
it at like a Comic-Con many moons ago.
And Hayden Panettiere did not sign it. It's never too late,
I'm
Hayden.
gonna keep it and then take it to another Comic-Con and hope that she's there to sign it.
Talking about heroes. You bet.
No, she probably wouldn't be there talking about Heroes, but I'd be like, I know you're here talking about a completely unrelated show. Please sign this Heroes poster.
Thanks so much. Love you. Kisses. Bye bye.
Yeah. You were in that god awful movie, Tiger Cruise.
Like I come to you with a couple things.
Mhm.
Number one, Tiger Cruise. What was that? That was weird. What was
Yeah.
that? What was that? And number two, can you sign this Heroes poster? I know
Yeah.
we're bouncing around a lot,
Yeah.
but there's a lot. I am very popular right now. Everybody is calling me.
Oh, I also forgot to mention that Kristen Bell was also in Heroes for a bit.
Really?
Yeah. She
Who did
played
you?
a character named Elle that was um Siler, Zachary Quinto's like love interest for a spell. And
Interesting.
so he ended up killing her and stealing her powers.
Oh, okay. Um, interesting. Zachary Quinto.
Yeah.
Not cool, but all right. I have literally no loyalty to any of these shows, so I will follow you with going with Heroes
Yeah.
because now I've learned how much it's meant to you, which I did not know.
I freaking love this show. Heroes would absolutely have to reappear if we do a superhero themed tournament.
Oh yeah, it's in the name. It's in the name.
And that leaves us with 5. And we all know here that the winner's circle for the tournament is 4. So of
Yes.
this list, we must eliminate one. It is between Infinity Train, Arrested Development, Girlfriends, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, and Heroes. And I think we all know which one has to get eliminated, even though it does hurt me specifically.
Which one?
Heroes.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to be Heroes.
It has to be Heroes.
It has to be Heroes. It won and then it lost pretty quickly. So it
Yeah.
doesn't hurt that bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, it got pretty far. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
It got farther than Batman the Animated Series, which if you told me that before we started, I would not have believed you. So
And as Bobby puts on our winner's screen,
mhm.
uh, I will just end up talking about at least some of our top 4, because I don't know anything about Arrested Development. So Infinity Train, available for streaming on HBO Max. Is it available on Hulu if you have the like joint package thing? Possibly. Um, it was originally on Cartoon Network. It eventually did move solely to streaming because of the mature subject matter. And by mature, I don't mean sexual. I literally mean the topics were more like for adults. They dealt with depression. They dealt with dealing with your parents' divorce. They dealt with feeling like what is expected of you as you grow up and what you want to do, being different, and how that affects you as a child of immigrants. They dealt with like friendships gone bad. They also dealt with the loss of a loved one, with the character of Amelia, who did so many heinous things in an attempt to create a perfect train car where her husband was still alive. And in doing all those heinous acts, she is basically going to be on the infinity train forever because her number is so high. It's across her whole body. And she is now actively, after having dealt with, I believe it was Tulip who showed her the error of her ways, is now on a path of redemption, who is actively working to undo the harm that she's done. It also dealt with one character, Lake, who is canonically, whether like conservatives want to admit it or not, is trans, and like they're like coming into their own person, having been essentially the reflection of the girl Tulip of season one, and kind of coming into their own as an individual that doesn't necessarily agree with, not agree with, but resonate with femininity, and also dealing with feeling like you are trapped, and which is super mature and hard for, I guess, what I think networks believed would be too hard of a concept for children to grasp. But children are a lot smarter than you would like to believe. They would totally understand it, and I think it would help them in their development to like see something like that play out. But executives disagree. It's
And
unfortunate.
it's very unfortunate.
Mhm.
Okay. Hold on. There we go.
Okay. I think that's like my top pick for the Peabody. My personal favorite of our top four.
Personal fave. Should this? Yeah. Okay. Should be right. Ta-da.
Ta-da! Our Peabody recipients. Please don't sue us. It is a parody.
It's a parody. It's supposed to be funny. Take the
Yeah.
joke. But I think my personal favorite here is Arrested Development. It's just it's so fucking funny.
Yes.
And I might go back and start a binge.
And where can they watch Arrested Development? Is it Hulu or Netflix? Netflix?
It's at this point I think it's still Netflix because technically
Okay.
like, the revival was under Netflix, but let me confirm that is where you can watch it.
Yeah. Just to reiterate to everyone watching, you can watch in order Infinity Train, HBO Max, Girlfriends, Netflix, Zoe Extraordinary Playlist. You can watch the actual show on Peacock. You can watch the movie that functions as the series finale on Roku. And Arrested Development, you can watch on, I believe, Netflix.
It's Netflix. They for some reason show Roku channel as the first place you can watch it.
I guess you can also watch it there.
This is Roku propaganda at this point. There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
But I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah. And that's like basically the end of the show, and where we have to let you know that Blerd Roundtable is going to be taking like a short hiatus because of our lives. We are working like I have a job, maybe.
We're manifesting. Momo has a job. I'm moving.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of things going. Life is hitting. You know what I mean?
Life is hitting real fast. It's coming at us real fast.
It is.
So we won't have time in April for Blerd Roundtable, but we do have stuff set up on our schedule for May. And when we get back, what are we doing again? So I don't forget.
I think the first thing up is the tournament.
Yeah, the first thing up, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, is going to be the highly anticipated, and by highly anticipated, I literally just mean Bobby and I have been looking forward to it for a very long time, our kids programming episode, which is going to be dominated by Discovery Kids shows, and I cannot wait.
It really is. It's about to be exciting. It is about to be Momo spending at least an hour and a half talking about Saddle Club.
It's going to be, which one is your favorite? Like,
Blue's Clues, probably.
No, I mean on like Discovery Kids.
On Discovery Kids. You know what? I was a weirdo that like trading spaces, boys versus girls.
I fucking loved that show. I tried to get on it.
We did.
I did. I tried to get on it, and then I realized I have no neighborhood friends. Yeah, so it wasn't going to be possible.
You should have just said it. It just didn't work out rather than I didn't have any neighborhood friends. Oh my gosh.
Well, I didn't go to the same school as the county, not the county, the city I lived in. So everyone else in the neighborhood did.
That's fair. You just
Also, I
didn't
was a
have.
little kid.
You should have just recruited a random one. Just been like, here, you're gonna be on the show, and we're gonna make each other's rooms.
I should have just knocked on doors and been like, "Hey,
You want to be on
you
the show?
want to be on TV?"
Or your parents let me demolish your current bedroom for like a cool car themed one that you'll get rid of in like a year?
Yeah, that you will absolutely outgrow insanely quickly.
So fast because they really put a lot of emphasis on you like this one thing. Well, yeah, let's just make that a recurring theme throughout the rest of the room.
Yeah.
Wasn't good, but yeah, I like Trading Spaces, Boys versus Girls. I like Kenny the Shark. I guess of like the original like series, it would be Time Warp Trio.
I have to agree. I really love Time Warp Trio.
It's a lot of fun.
There they go. Yeah. But that's coming to you May 5th. So stay tuned for that. And I think in between now and then, we'll be playing reruns of some of the greatest hits of the tournament. So I guess if you've missed an episode and have not watched it on our YouTube channel, you can watch it here
Yep,
over
you
the
can.
next month.
Yep, while we be adults for
Where
a
we
little bit.
adults very actively and aggressively.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone. It was great hanging out with you. I mean, pre-recorded wise, but like, it's still a time.
We'll see you
Yeah.
in May.
Yeah. See ya. Bye.